Flag roll. Okay.
Hello, another edition of Issues with JIDE. Here we talk about actions and inactions of those who shape our political and national landscape and how these impact us positively or otherwise. I'm Ibrahim Shita. Today on the show, we will be exclusively and mainly talking about the 72 hours to inauguration of the next administration, where the Supreme Court saves Tinubu and Shettima, the vice president-elect. In the course of the program, we'll take your questions, but first subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop your questions in the comment section. I have joining me via Zoom, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju. It's good to see you again this evening, Bikil.
Thank you so much. We do this again and again and again.
Right.
It's a pleasure to do it again.
Absolutely. So then all Nigerians are looking forward to Saturday, and to May the 29th, which is Monday, to see the new president, the next administration ushered in. Even though the opposition, the other political parties are kicking, they are trying hard to ensure that the inauguration doesn't hold. But different programs have been, different programs that are aligned have actually been done. For instance, the inauguration lecture today, and also the passing of baton to President. The conferment of GCFR and GCON to both candidates of the ruling party who will be governing the next who will be running the next administration. But then the Supreme Court, threw out a suit seeking disqualification of Bola Tinubu and Kashim Shettima as presidential and vice presidential candidates of the APC. So it called them as the PDP as busybody and meddlesome interloper, while slamming a fine of 2 million naira on them for wasting the court's time. How do you react to this, BKO?
Yeah, I would say I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that the judgment went that way. And, because the law is clear. A lot of what the opposition makes so much noise about have no basis in law, but there is a clear attempt to mislead Nigerians through the social media. Some of the cases being taken to court with the intention of stopping the inauguration of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu are frivolous and needless. And sometimes I wonder what the intention of those fellows are, because you are merely wasting your time and wasting the time of the judiciary. And I'm not surprised now that the judiciary has begun to impose fines against those litigants. The other day, somebody came from nowhere and said that he won the 2019 election. And on the eve of the inauguration of the new administration, you wanted the courts to stop that inauguration, claiming that you won the 2019 election. That's the candidate of Hope Democratic Party in the 2019 election. Of course, that is as ridiculous as they come. He was not popular. Nigerians didn't vote for him, and he never won the 2019 election. Secondly, somebody also came onto the scene, claiming that he was excluded from contesting. His picture was not on the ballot in 2011, and for that reason, he wanted the inauguration stopped so that his matter can then be resolved. Everyone just wants the inauguration stopped for one reason: because they do not like the person who emerged the winner of the election. A group of people came together in Abuja, a lot of them well-known Lagos residents until maybe some months ago. They came together and called themselves Abuja residents. and said that because Tinubu did not get 25% in Abuja, he is not eligible to be inaugurated as Nigeria's 16th president. It is this same argument that Baba Ahmed has been making all over the place, calling Tinubu's inauguration or impending inauguration unconstitutional on the basis of the fact that he did not score 25% in Abuja. Anyone who thinks that one part of Nigeria has votes superior to votes cast in other parts of the country must be a very ridiculous person. There is no court in our country will resolve the matter in favor of the guys who want us to believe that you must score 25% in Abuja. There's no court in Nigeria, and I repeat it for emphasis, for history. There's no court in Nigeria that will pronounce that the votes of a particular part of the country is superior to votes cast in other areas. And that's what they are indirectly saying by saying that you must score 25% to be in Abuja to be president. A presidential candidate does not need to score 25% in Abuja to become president. And in the fullness of time, the Supreme Court, which is the court of policy in our country, the final court, will resolve that matter. And this needless argument that you must score 25% in Abuja will be resolved finally. Now, getting to this last matter, I must tell you that one of the big cases, one of the big issues that those who seek to stop Bola Ahmed Tinubu from becoming president pin their hopes on is the matter that was decided yesterday. All along, they thought that Shettima was guilty of double nomination. And they felt that if they could prove that in court, Tinubu will not see May 29. But they were mistaken, because at the end of the day, two major issues came out of that Supreme Court judgment. And one is the fact that if that nomination, issues around nomination of party candidates are internal matters of those political parties. I hope are you hearing me? Shita?
Yes, most definitely. I'm with you, BK. I'm with you. Going with you.
Yes, yes. Okay, I just wanted to be sure, because your countenance does not suggest that you are listening.
No, I'm listening.
Now,
I'm listening.
Okay. Now your body language must show that you are listening. Now, any matter that has to do with nomination, the law says clearly that it is an internal matter of a political party. You cannot, if you are not a member of that party, you can't complain about whatever transpires during the nomination of a candidate. So PDP and Labour seeking to stop Tinubu and Shettima on the basis that Shettima was not validly nominated, or that Shettima was guilty of double nomination, was dead on arrival from the beginning, because they didn't have the local standard to even bring up that matter in the first place. It was a misreading of Section 185 14C. They clearly misread that portion of the Constitution. And Justice Ogunwumeju, one of the Supreme Court justices that sat on this matter, I want to read what she said, because she had earlier resolved the matter involving Uche Nwosu. Uche Nwosu was guilty of double nomination. And Justice Ogunwumeju affirmed that the cases, that case and this particular one were different because they kept citing Uche Nwosu. And Justice Ogunwumeju was the one who read the lead judgment in Uche Nwosu's matter. And the judge said, no, these are two different cases. Uche Nwosu was was governorship candidate of both the APC and the AA. In the case of Tinubu, it's not a case of somebody being, in the case of Shettima, it's not a case of somebody being nominated on two different platforms. This person became the candidate of the party for a senatorial election. And the moment he was picked by the president-elect as his running mate, back then, he dropped the senatorial ticket. Now, let me read what Justice Ogunwumeju said so that we can have clarity. The moment the fourth respondent submitted his withdrawal to his political party, his nomination stood withdrawn. Exhibit 6, relied upon by the appellant, dated 15th July 2022, was the date the fourth respondent was substituted by INEC and not the day he was nominated. There was no double or multiple nomination. As the withdrawal and notification by the fourth respondent and the second respondent to the INEC is in line with Section 31 of the Electoral Act 2022. So you can see Justice Ogunwumeju's argument, and she has clarity on that matter because she had decided a similar matter in the past involving Uche Nwosu, who was a candidate of both the AA and the APC in Imo State back then. Then Justice Adamu Jauro, Justice of the Supreme Court, read the lead judgment and listened to him. The appellant is a nosy busybody and a meddlesome interloper without local standard to challenge the nominations of the APC candidates. The case is fraught with irredeemable maladies and it is without merit. The appellant asks us to hear the matter on merit. There are conditions for invoking Section 22 of the Supreme Court Act. The trial court, and indeed the court below, no longer have jurisdiction, and this court cannot assume jurisdiction as these are constitutional provisions. The court is a court of policy and must maintain its integrity. Justice Okoro, on his part, was very angry about the way the social media was used to terrorize, in his words, the judiciary, the Supreme Court judges. Whereas, in his words, the lawyers to the appellant clearly misled the court and misled the people. So Justice Okoro says, using the social media to terrorize and bully the justices of the Supreme Court by the appellant is appalling and unprofessional. The appeal is without merit and it is dismissed. He also affirmed, I think it was Justice Ogunwumeju who said a decision is authority for what it decides. He was referring to a case that she earlier decided. So clearly, Section 285, subsection 14, that was the one I call Section 185. Section 285, subsection 14C is being misunderstood. The Supreme Court affirmed that only applies to political parties challenging INEC, that it does not permit a political party to get involved in nomination of candidates in another party. So the law is clear, both in the Constitution and the Electoral Act, as well as Section 39(5) of the Electoral Act, that you cannot get involved in the internal matters of another political party. Remember, even in Benue, Father Alia's emergence as the candidate of the APC was challenged by the PDP. And this was the same matter, this was the same way it was decided. The Supreme Court ordered the appellant to withdraw the matter. And when Supreme Court tells you withdraw the matter, that means your matter has been dismissed. That's another word for dismissal. So in future, you can't bring this up, and this matter has been laid to rest. Kashim Shettima was not guilty of double nomination because the court also looks at intention. The moment you wrote the letter saying, look, I'm not interested in the senatorial contest anymore, you have said clearly that you are not interested. And just like Justice Ogunwumeju said, Shettima did not get involved in any primaries for the post of vice president. It was the president-elect now that nominated him. Aouje referred to what happened to Atiku in 1999. Atiku had won election as governor of Abia State before Obasanjo picked him as his running mate. And Atiku became running mate to Obasanjo. Nobody accused him of double nomination. And according to Justice Amina Oge, the matter came to the Supreme Court. They wanted Atiku's deputy to not step into his position, but the court ruled that Boni Haruna, as running mate to Atiku, would be, it automatically becomes the governor. Since it's a joint ticket, both of them had won election, so he naturally stepped into Atiku's shoes after Atiku became running mate to Obasanjo. So if Atiku was not disqualified at that time, why should Atiku, who had benefited in the past from this kind of situation, be pushing to have Kashim Shettima disqualified just because somebody appointed him as his deputy? Somebody nominated him. He didn't get involved in the primary election. So it's just similar now to the case. You know, all of these cases are coming up. Those who came together in Abuja and said, oh, Tinubu did not score 25%. You cannot challenge the outcome of the presidential election if you are not a participant in that election. The people can challenge Tinubu's victory are the people who contested against him. That's what the law says. Otherwise, even you, Shita, you can get up now and say, oh, I do not like the outcome of the election, I'm going to court. Not all of us can't challenge the outcome of the election. It's the people who lost the election who can feel aggrieved, who can complain about the process leading to Tinubu's victory and then decide to go to court. So the people who have the power to go to court are the OBs. Obi came third, and he thinks that he's the one who won the election. He's gone to the tribunal. Good luck to him. Atiku, a perennial litigant, also believed that Tinubu did not win the election. He's gone to the tribunal. Good luck to him. After 180 days and then 60 days, totaling about roughly 8 months, we will know who indeed won the election, because the Supreme Court will have decided on the matter, and the matter will be laid to rest. So there are so many cases like that coming up, some of them frivolous, and I think the lawyers, the judges have to descend on the lawyers who are bringing these funny cases and wasting the time of the courts.
Amazing, amazing. You know, it actually took you more than 20 minutes to give a background and explain, you know, very clearly for our viewers to understand, you know, how the whole thing started and all of that. And that's to show you that, that's to show us that, you know, there's a lot that we really need to understand other than, you know, pandering to our whims and sentiments. So let me quickly take, because we have a lot of comments here. We have lots and lots of people who are viewing us at the moment. I'm not really sure why we have that viewership, but because we make impact and people are also looking forward to, okay, so what is the next administration? You know, what pays, I mean, what is the next administration going to look like? So a lot of people ask the question. And let me, this comment, Bukola Yobami says, can you confirm if President Tinubu, or he's already calling Tinubu president, but then we'll still calling president-elect as professionals? Tinubu will name his cabinet minister the first week in office. I don't know. Do you want to go for that? Because you are not among his inner caucus.
Yes, yes. I have people around him. I have some people who are very close to him. Some of them, I was privileged to nominate them to work with him, especially the media team. But the way President-elect Tinubu does his things, he keeps his jokers close to his chest. I know that when he traveled to France, and people were saying, oh, he went for Medicare again, he wanted to run away from Nigeria. And he knows that countries like Spain, countries like France, when he goes there, not many people will come and meet him there, you know, to pile pressure. People are piling unbearable pressure on him. People want to become ministers and all that. And it's the same pressure that they are piling on his aides. So at this point, I know that Tinubu would like to pick, he probably will have even finished picking his ministers at this time, because he's someone who likes to work ahead and he has an idea of who and who must work with him. I can predict some of those who will be in that cabinet, you know, but I want to believe that it won't be long before we see that we see the list of his cabinet members. You know, even if he releases them now, the proclamation of the National Assembly will happen, I think, June 10 or so. So we still have to wait. We still have to wait because they will go through clearance and all that in the National Assembly. So I want to believe that within the first 3 weeks, Tinubu's cabinet should be out, because that is one way he will show that he
wants to hit the ground.
He's a new broom, and that he wants to hit the ground running. He wants to show that it's different from, it's a court. I mean, he is different from some of the leaders we've had in the past. So we are eagerly waiting to see his list of ministers, because that will send a signal to us as per his seriousness.
At least no one will want to call him Baba Go Slow, as Buhari, you know, got that appellation, you know, at the beginning of his administration. Fabian Akaisi says, okay. Now, Fabian Akaisi says that the best chance AA, that's Atiku Abubakar, had of becoming president was to succeed Obasanjo. Since 2007, OBJ has ensured that AA would never become president. Atiku Abubakar shouldn't have contested in the 2022 PDP primaries. That's his opinion. And Christopher Muike says, BKO, you should not wonder about what the lawyers are doing. They're wasting their time and that of the courts. Also, we've got lots and lots of comments here. Bukola Yobami says, this is the first time in Nigeria history whereby we have a president who is fully prepared to serve. Tinubu is not a president of necessity. He has friends all around the world. I think he's kind of like Bukola is trying to corroborate what you just said as about Achwadi Tinubu. Would you confirm that?
Yes, you know, when Achwadi became governor of Lagos, he once described his commissioners as expatriates. He said, I have a team of expatriates. These were people, some of them used to work abroad. They are not the usual politicians. A lot of them were not even politicians at all. he brought them technocrats into government, and they made a big difference. And they are still very, very useful today. So we look forward to him replicating that. Yes, he's got to find the right balance, bring some politicians into government, but he has to bring Nigerians who have the capacity.
There's another comment here. Ajibade says, we are proud of you, JIDE. Rauf Brahimo says, when Governor Adeleke of Osun State won his court case in the Supreme Court, they were all jubilating. But when Asiwaju won, when Asiwaju of the APC won, they are complaining. I wonder. We've got okay, there are some invectives here which we'll rather not take. The hate towards Tinubu and APC is only because of Buhari and the way he led Nigeria. That's according to Tractor Friday. Deji Akimbode says, I hope there is good security. Yeah, go ahead. You go ahead. You want to...
That's partly true because they blame Tinubu for bringing Buhari to power. Buhari would not have been president if Tinubu and others had not worked for him. Buhari would just have been like another Obi who won an election from one part of the country, largely based on religion. And at the end of the day, in our country, the way the constitution is framed, you cannot be president if you do not have support across board. Obi's support base is largely from states dominated by Christians. He did not win, and I've kept saying it, he did not win a single state dominated by Muslims. You cannot be president if you don't have that spread. Buhari tried and tried 3 times. He kept dominating elections in the far north, in the Muslim far north. He did not win until he benefited from the collapse of all those small parties into APC. People like Tinubu and the rest of them, they worked for him, and that was why he became president. That's why people hate Tinubu for bringing Buhari to power. They kept saying, oh, why did you bring a man who has made things worse for us as a country? That's the reason a good number of people hate him. That why should you bring him? We thought you would bring someone good enough. So that should tell you that many people know that without Tinubu's contributions, Buhari would never have been president. And I'm one of those who have that belief.
Amazing. So another comment here says, is it okay? Kunle Olowo Mojara says, I'm seeing Obi being disqualified due to the fact that Labour Party submitted register before their primaries don't have Peter Obi's name. Is that plausible? Is that a plausible position or comment?
I don't know. No one knows. No one knows. But let me tell you, if Peter Obi and Atiku were thinking, or if they think that they will win at the tribunal based on evidence of rigging, they are wasting their time. They will never find sufficient evidence of rigging to overturn the election. As you can see, even in the arguments, even in analysis, they keep talking about Lagos. Oh, Labour Party will have scored up to 2 million votes in Lagos. Labour Party could have, Labour Party ought to have won Rivers. They don't talk about the North. A majority of the votes are in the North. You will never hear them when they are complaining about rigging. They do not mention those states of the North, for example. So that means that even in terms of the evidence at their disposal, and in terms of the claims that they are making that the election was massively rigged, they are not providing enough instances. And your evidence must be overwhelming. It must be capable of overturning the election. You are not going to win on the basis of technicalities or those little things like, oh, you didn't score 25% in Abuja. If anyone is banking on that, because I keep hearing that saying that Tinubu did not score 25% in Abuja, therefore it's not qualified to be inaugurated. If you pin all your hopes on the fact that Tinubu did not score 25% in Abuja, and for that reason, he has not been validly elected, you are being ridiculous, because no court, as I've said earlier, no court in our country will pronounce the votes from Abuja as being superior to the votes from Kano or anywhere else. Votes, there's no votes that is superior to the other. So this is the way it is. If they are banking on having the election overturned because of the Abuja thing, then they're on a long thing. That is not going to happen. I know people will say, look, you are not the tribunal, you are not supposed to say things like this. But at the end of the day, we have to be common sensical. A very small portion of our country, you can't tell us that the vote from that tiny portion of our country is superior to votes that people cast elsewhere. I mean, at the end of the day, those judges will decide. Those judges will decide. The judges of the tribunal will decide. But I'm confident that if the matter of 25% in Abuja will never be resolved in favor of Obi and that. Or even
fantastic. Very quickly. Yeah. Very quickly, my producer wanted me to ask you questions as regards the Court of Appeal in Kano, which the governor-elect challenged the ruling. The Court of Appeal in Kano suspended the High Court ruling, which sacked the Labour Party candidate. How do you react to this? Very briefly, I still have one more question to ask you.
It's just as I had expected, and it's in line with what I said during journalist hangout because of the week. I do not see how a court can sit in Kano and decide on matters affecting Abia State. You have the federal court in every state. So why not approach federal court there? So the issue of jurisdiction is very important. And the court in Kano fell short of making a consequential order by ordering INEC to withdraw the certificates issued to LSOT. So as far as I'm concerned, that judgment amounts to nothing, because what are you? You didn't say they should take his certificate of return. So he's still governor. With that certificate of return, he's still governor. He will be inaugurated. Nobody has taken it from him. If they had given an order to say, okay, withdraw it immediately, Labour Party will be running helter-skelter. They will be looking for a court to countermand that order of the lower court. But they don't have to bother themselves, because his certificate of return is still with him. That means he's the validly elected governor of Abia State. And I'm looking forward to his inauguration on Monday.
Amazing. So let me take this comment. Well, I have to take this Fabian's comment, which he says, this is how Nigerians fought and insulted DJ, that's Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, in 2015, because they believed PMB was the savior, and look at where we are today. He now said Tinubu must probe PMB once he resumes office as soon as possible. He must answer.
Well,
What do you think?
I know that President Buhari will not shield any member of his administration that is accused of corruption. He has already permitted even the investigation of some of the chiefs in this government. Look at the stories that we had about the middle fast power minister. I never believed that under President Buhari, given his supposed no-nonsense posture and all that, that this level of stealing will be permitted in our country. Just cast your mind back to how much the accountant general, the former accountant general, was said to have stolen. He was said to have stolen more than 100 billion. And it's worrisome. It's worrisome. And there's no way the incoming administration would not want to have a look at the books and consider putting some people on trial, consider detaining some people, because the level of looting was by some of the ministers and some of the people in government was really worrisome. We can't pretend that it didn't happen. We can't pretend. Even the presidency was complaining about 3 weeks ago about the level of corruption under the administration. So you can actually have, this is a lesson to us, Ibrahim. You can have a president with integrity who does not steal, who would rather die than steal, but have around him people who are so used to stealing as if stealing constitutes breathing in and out for them. So this is the thing. Your integrity is not enough. You must also have the right team around you, people who have integrity. Otherwise, you are wasting your time.
Okay, because of our time, we need to race to the end. Taking this comment. Team Tino Eats says, I so much believe in Ashwaju. All obedience will beg Ashwaju for another term after his first tenure. Jay says, he said Nigerians should introduce a course or subject in schools named after Tinubu. The man should be taught to our citizens. No one has ever done what he did. Okay, so this question is what we are going to be closing with. He asked a question about, I think there are too many, because we have more than 1,000 viewership currently on our YouTube channel for this program. There is this question I'm going to read, but then it just disappeared because we have two avalanche of questions dropping in. But the person is asking, if I can remember, the person is asking whether you think Asiwaju Bola Tinubu would remove subsidy, maybe in 3 years. Do you think he will remove it? Although the person said he wants him to remove the subsidy. So how would you respond to that? I can't find the comment, but then that's what the person is trying to ask.
Let's not even waste time about this. There is no appropriation for subsidy in the 2023 budget, which means that tactically the current administration has already removed subsidy. There's no subsidy appropriated. There's no money appropriated for subsidy in the 2023 budget. This is the truth. You can take it to the bank. So it means that even before Tinubu takes over, subsidy had already been removed. So if you don't have money appropriated to subsidy, then where is he going to find the money to pay for subsidy? So tactically, they've removed it. We have to prepare for removal of subsidy, the implementation of removal of subsidy. It's inevitable. If we don't do it, our country will be in trouble.
Right. That's I think I found it. That's Bukola's question. But because of our time, BKO, that's our show for today's edition of Issues with JIDE. Special thanks to you, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju, for those insightful analyses, as always. And we had a lot of people who have been commenting, and also praising your sense of judgment and analysis so far, BKO.
Thank you. We do this for them. Wherever we find ourselves, this program is important. We have to keep it going. We have very loyal viewers of the program. We have to commit to making them happy. We have to work hard. You know? And that's what we have done today with the very extensive analysis of the Supreme Court judgment. I'm sure no one has seen something this elaborate up to the point of reading out what each of the Supreme Court judges said. You know, that's giving value to our viewers, and it makes me happy.
That's it. And thanks to you, to our audience, as BK was thanked you for joining us on every edition. You can see the again anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel, TVC News Nigeria. Click on the subscribe button to get the latest information. You can also see follow us on our social media platforms at TVC News NG and also as Ibrahim TVC News. On behalf of the rest of the team, Ibrahim Shita, see you again next edition. Bye for now.